Hello and welcome to the morning after show. My name is Joshua Reimer. I'm joined on my right, left, I don't know which way, by Jared Block. Jared, one day I'll figure it out, man. One day I'll take the time to go ahead before the stream and go look if you're on my left or right. But for now, how are you doing and how was your Thursday?
Thursday was great, man. Busy as always. So that never fails, but we were able to get a lot of stuff done, and we also were able to win on last night's Thursday night game between the Panthers and Texans. Won on both sites very handily, I might add, even with Christian McCaffrey going down with injury. We'll talk about that because that definitely trolled a lot of things in the betting market. But at the end of the day, I'm happy for a win.
Yeah, win's a win, right? That's all that matters at the end of the day. Guys, I'm about to put a tweet out saying that since we did go late, that's my fault. I'm sorry. I'm going to make up for by buying 3 people lunch, giving you $10 to your PayPal. So make sure to go retweet the tweet that I am about to put out. Anything that you want to touch on, Jared, before we get started today?
No, just the fact that it is Friday, so we have this stream and then we have the stream in the afternoon for fantasy football. And yeah, we'll take it from there. A lot of cool stuff happening this weekend, and we're going to get to it on this stream.
Yes, good. This weekend is crazy from like a sports perspective. You're finishing out the Ryder Cup. You have UFC. You have college football tomorrow, and then we have NFL. I mean, it couldn't get any better. It's going to be an awesome weekend. So make sure to stay tuned for all of that because that's what we're covering today. But Jared, let's get this thing started. Let's start out with talking some NFL because it doesn't feel right to not talk about NFL after Thursday. We had the CMC injury. Not only did we have CMC get hurt, but JC Horn got hurt. Also, we saw the rookie Davis Mills make his first start. Let's talk about McCaffrey first. He's going to be out for probably 3 weeks or so, is what they're saying. I'm interested to see when those actual reports come in today. But right now, from the injury that they're saying that he has, they're saying it's going to be around 3 weeks. What does this mean to you? Does it mean that Chuba Hubbard is going to be the guy now? Does it mean that this Panthers team is going to struggle? What are you thinking here?
Yeah, so first of all, the Panthers have had a pretty soft schedule for the first three games. You can include the Saints in that as part of it, but they've handled most of their games pretty easily. The Texans gave them a fight in the first half, but again, depth and talent wins out over the course of the game. The Panthers, without CMC, were still able to put up points on the board, and that's refreshing to see. Uh, the thing that it's going to do, I don't necessarily know if any of these guys can step into that CMC role. People will probably flock to Chuba Hubbard in all formats just to try to get a piece of that. And we saw last night that necessarily wasn't the case, especially against a really, really good matchup in the Texans defense that you should be able to expect to see that production from. Truthfully, the work went to two players specifically throughout the entire game. First, it was DJ Moore, and second, it was actually Sam Darnold that took the CMC usage, scoring 2 rushing touchdowns last night. The thing that I worry about is that, the first rushing touchdown from Sam Darnold came from everybody biting on an RPO decision to McCaffrey, and that left a wide open lane for Sam Darnold to run through once everybody went McCaffrey's way. That's not going to be the case much anymore. Will it happen every now and then? Sure. Over the next couple of weeks, I can see that happening. But he takes so much pressure away from everybody else on the offense and takes it upon himself. Now we probably might see some guys try to. They might not stack the boxes as much. They might try to double team a guy like DJ Moore or Robbie Anderson on the outside. They might try to do a few things defensively, scheming wise, for the blitz. They have three interesting matchups coming up, and a fourth that he could potentially miss in Dallas, and then they go and take on the Eagles. They have the Vikings and then the New York Giants. So
Hmm.
we were talking about this yesterday on the show, Josh, just about Carolina in general and their schedule. They have a really, really soft schedule the entire season. So I'm not necessarily worried for them because they could go 7-1 before they lose. And this hurts them, but I don't think it breaks their season just yet.
I think it does hurt them. You're right. I think it hurts this offense. I think for all those people who are saying this morning, I've seen so many comments around the industry saying that Sam Darnold is fantasy viable now. Sam Darnold looks like he could be that guy. Hold off, man. Not yet. Not yet, at least for me. I know with CMC coming out and not being available to play for the next few weeks, you're exactly right. It puts so much pressure on the rest of this offense. Now, instead of teams focusing on the most dynamic weapon on this team, they can focus on Sam Darnold instead or focus on DJ Moore. At the end of the day, this is going to make Sam Darnold's life a lot harder. But
Yeah.
I agree with you. I mean, I did not know their schedule was that soft. Who do they have for the rest? I'm just curious because you said it was soft throughout.
Yep. So I went through this yesterday a little bit. I don't know because again, when I looked, they said that they have the 26th best. I mean, that might have been the opposite, so it could have been the 26th on the toughest scale.
Uh huh.
So looking down here, we already know that they face the Jets and the Texans and the Saints. So Panthers take on the Cowboys next week, and then they have the Eagles at home in Carolina. They also have the Vikings at home in Carolina, and then they go and take on the Giants. Then they go on the road against the Falcons, another easy matchup. And then it gets a little bit tougher for a few weeks. Patriots at home, Cardinals in Arizona, Washington at home, and then they face the Dolphins on the road. The Panthers face the Falcons at home in December, and then they finish off the season with the toughest part of their schedule. So the Bills, the Bucks, the Saints, and the Bucks. So everything else until week 12 or 13 is kind of a cakewalk for this team. I'm not gonna say cakewalk, but they have a lot of chances to win games, and I wouldn't be surprised if we see them at like a 9-2, 9-3 until the later half of the season, where they could develop into a wild card team.
It's crazy. This is a team that could because we talked about it on the NFL members only podcast yesterday. How we said we're talking about how this defense has been so good. So
Yep.
maybe that's gonna help this team a little bit in this low period where they're without CMC. I want to see this defense in tougher spots. I don't think we get it throughout these next 4 weeks, but I want to see this defense really get tested and see what they're worth. Just want to go over the chat because I completely forgot to at the beginning of the show. Teddy Two Stack said, "Good morning, good morning. How you doing?" Desert Zombie says, "UFC baby," and says, "Poor CMC." Couldn't agree more. Bacon says, "Good morning, boys." Hockey fan says, "Glad I have Chubbard as his handcuff, dude. I can't." It just proves the age old point. Always draft your top running back's handcuff, and if you don't, you usually get in trouble because of it. D Ramified said, "I'm here, fellas. What's going on?" Go Friar says, "Fucked up Friday." Happy fucked up Friday. Bodine said they're going to get tested next week with Dallas for sure. Yeah. No, I'm not saying they're not going to get tested by Dallas. I'm just saying, okay, whatever. Anyway, people are now chewing me out for not respecting the Cowboys offense. Regardless, let's talk about J.C. Horn, who also got injured. You remember
Yeah.
that the Panthers spent eighth pick on this guy in the first
Yep.
round. And he looked really good. I mean, he's part of the reason why this offense or this defense has looked so good is because of him being a good corner. And it's
Yep.
a spot that they needed to improve on in the offseason. So it's sad to see him leave. I think the report was that it was a broken foot. I mean, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but it's going to be a while before we see him. What's your thoughts on J.C. Horn?
Yeah, we talked about how the Carolina Panthers ranked first in almost every defensive statistic. The one statistic you couldn't tell that still undersells this defense is the speed and the ability to close gaps, and J.C. Horn was a very, very big part of that. Now I'm a little bit scared that their secondary is going to be exploitable in tougher matchups down the stretch here. Definitely a big blow for them. Unfortunately, it was a non-contact injury as well, so that's some of the scariest types of injuries. I don't know, especially on turf too. Forget about that. They played on turf last night, so yeah, definitely a huge, huge blow to the defense, and hopefully we see that dude next season.
Yeah, I don't know where he was, but I know that BetOnline has him off the list for Defensive Rookie of the Year. Micah Parsons is right now the leader over there, with Surtain as the second guy. But if Surtain was the second guy, then I don't think J.C. Horn would have been far behind. So I know he was having a great season. Really sad to see him get injured. But, that's football. We saw a lot of injuries last night. One guy that we did not see injured was Davis Mills, who was able to make his first QB start as a rookie. How do you think Davis Mills did? Do you feel encouraged? Do you feel discouraged? What are you thinking?
Yeah, I have nothing to really report on that. I was down on him all day yesterday. Coming into a matchup against a really tough defense on a primetime game for your first game, only having 3 days worth of preparation, it's never going to pan out well for you. He looked good in the last drive of the first half, and that's kind of it. Now, he said in his presser that it's never his. So his first start, he said it's never as bad as you think it was, and it's never as good as you think it was. So it makes perfect sense to me. That's exactly what it looked like last night.
Yeah.
So he's going to be good. I'm going to say that right now. He's going to be good. We've been both high on Davis Mills.
Yep.
He's shown that he can be, he has shown signs of real NFL quarterback life at Stanford. So I think it's a little early yet, and the weapons he has around him aren't necessarily the greatest. He was playing in a game without two of his top wide receivers, Josh, already, in Danny Amendola and Nico Collins, who went on the IR. So was playing out there with, I shouldn't say Anthony Miller and Chris Conley are scrubs, but they definitely are lower towards the bottom of the totem pole.
In the NFL level, they might be scrubs, man. I mean, I don't know what wide receiver core is better, this one or the one in Detroit.
Yeah, I would have to say the Texans only because
Yeah,
they have
I
Brandon
mean,
Cooks.
just slightly though, right? Like Brandon Cooks is the only reason for that. Brian14353, thank you for gifting a sub. It is greatly appreciated. What's going on, Bama Girl? We know Bama Girl. Bama Girl's a regular here. So what's going on? CLPE226 said, didn't expect much from Mills, but did you find it odd that he didn't throw it / check down to his running backs at all? All three of them are pass catchers. I don't know if I'd call Mark Ingram necessarily a pass catcher, but regardless, did you find that interesting?
No, because that's exactly what Deshaun Watson was doing last year, not throwing to running backs, and it
Yep.
was frustrating with Duke Johnson back there. For those of you who don't remember, David Johnson was out repeatedly and continuously. So that meant that Duke Johnson was chalk every single week and could never get passes. It was always throwing to the tight end or Brandon Cooks or Will Fuller. So that's the way the offense is going to continue to run, even though they changed out some of their personnel in the coaching department. But it is what it is, and I don't think that we're going to see that moving forward.
Yeah, for sure. I will say the number one thing I took away from yesterday's game when I was watching it back earlier is that this Texans team, Brandon Cooks is the real deal, man. I mean, I feel like you and I were already on this page. You and I were here before a lot of people were here talking about how he's one of the most underrated wide receivers in the game right now, and he's really just underrated because of his team, in all honesty. And outside of that, this guy's amazing, and he was exactly that last night. Amazing. 9 catches, 112 yards, no touchdowns, but that's not surprising. He had 11 targets. I think as long as Davis Mills is going to be their QB, which I think is going to probably be the rest of the season, you're going to see Brandon Cooks look really, really good. And I'm excited for that. I'm excited to see Brandon Cooks have fantasy relevance.
Yeah, he's going to be that dude that everybody looks at later in the season and looks back and says, "Holy crap! How did he get so many targets?"
Yeah.
There's a few reasons for that, but coming into or after week two, beginning of week three, Brandon Cooks, Josh has 22 targets, and that leads his team by the next closest person has 8, and that's Pharaoh Brown, their tight end. So
Jeez.
the yeah, 38.6% target share through 3 weeks, which is Devontae Adams, guys, was getting like he was the wide receiver one last year, and he had a 26% target share. So if Brandon Cooks is getting close to 40% of the targets through 3 weeks, that's going to even out a little bit, but still, I think that we can, he's going to be the guy in Houston. He's the only offensive player that I want to look at. And yeah, Davis Mills will be a guy that can get him the ball, though.
Yeah, gonna be fun to watch Brandon Cooks, and I think I agree with you on the Davis Mills point to where I think this guy is going to be good. They didn't spend a third rounder on a rookie QB for nothing. They know they needed him. I think just putting him in this spot and like saying, "All right, you're either gonna sink or swim," is going to benefit him at the end of the day. So I'm excited to see what he can do. And yeah, let's talk about some other NFL topics. Jamie Collins trade rumors. Lions head coach say they are actively looking for a trade for Jamie Collins. Any interesting spots that you think he can go to?
Yeah, so first of all, I'm not surprised that they are shopping him around. It seems like something that, they would do at this point of the season just to try to get some draft capital back or maybe bolster some areas that are in concern, even though kind of everything else is in concern. So why, I don't know, why are you giving him away necessarily? But yeah, one of the things that makes sense to me would be the Patriots defense. I think that's probably one of the chalkier answers here that I could give, but that's a team that I think Josh is going to bubble this season and be pretty close to potentially making a playoff run. It doesn't look like that early, but just wait. I think that the defense is going to carry them through the majority of this season.
If Jamie Collins is allowed to go back to the Patriots, I am going to rage. I'm gonna be. He's so good with the Patriots, man. Like Belichick
Yep.
just knows how to unlock a different level with Jamie Collins. You can see it. Like his every year with New England, he is an absolutely amazing linebacker. And then you look at every other year that he's had with like either the Lions or any other team that he's been on, looks like dog shit. Looks absolutely awful. So if he's allowed to go back to the Patriots, I'm gonna be kind of upset, but it is what it is. It's gonna be interesting to see where he ends up. And good, he deserves to be somewhere better than this Lions team that's just
Yep.
gonna keep on losing throughout the year. Conic said, morning, homies. How's everyone doing? Doing well, man. Doing very well. Teddy Two Stack says Brandon Cook's very underrated, but gets a concussion every year. Yeah, that does usually happen. Go Fryer says, outside of all the off the field stuff, it's baffling that a top five ish QB is healthy and not playing. I saw a tweet about that, about like we don't want to talk about any off the field stuff with Deshaun Watson, but it's a guy who's not only not playing, but he's a healthy active scratch. You know what I mean? He's a healthy scratch, and he's still getting paid. Like he's still getting paid a majority of his contract, even though he is a healthy scratch every time. It's going to be interesting, man. Uh,
Right.
what Kyberry says, did someone say lunch? Yes, I said lunch. Mario Ray says lunch. You said, yeah. Desert Zombie said chicken fajitas. That sounds good, man. Desert Zombie also asks, isn't Coral a Heisman favorite? I'm pretty sure he is. I can actually look at that while we're talking here. But Jared, while I'm looking this up, anything else that you have for NFL?
Yeah, we have two pieces of news. The first one is referring back to Deshaun Watson. For those who missed the game last night or just didn't catch that specific piece, it was made an announcement officially on that like the broadcasters actually said it themselves, which was Buck and Aikman last night on the NFL Network. They stated that the Texans officially made a statement before tonight's game that they are not going to be playing Deshaun Watson the entire season. So he will no longer be he'll be on the active roster most likely, but they're just not going to play him, and they made that completely clear last night. So now it's officially over. People who have Deshaun Watson in their fantasy leagues, cough, cough, Sean, he will not be playing this season. So that's interesting to me. It was about time that they made that clear. And I think that we're going to see Davis Mills for the rest of the season, even when Tyrod Taylor comes back and is healthy enough to play. The other piece of news that we have is a piece of news that dropped around halftime last night during that game from Ian Rappaport says that the NFL is tinkering with its Super Wildcard Weekend format. So the first wildcard weekend of the expanded playoffs this season. He said that I'm told likely to have it conclude on a Monday night. That would mean 2 games Saturday, 3 games on Sunday, and one Monday night game for the broadcast partner to be determined. So
Wow.
looks like we're going to get a Monday night football game for the wild card weekend, which actually is pretty cool.
That's absolutely awesome. I'm excited. That's very dope. And good thing on Deshaun Watson. You know, like you said, it's about time we made this clear. It's about time we stopped having every week saying that like, oh, he's a healthy scratch. Like, yeah, of course he is. Let's get it done for the year and call it a day. So yeah, it's gonna be interesting. I don't think we have anything else for NFL. Yeah, I don't think we have anything else. So if you're ready, we can move on.
Yeah, I'm ready to move on too. Just confirming, yeah, go Friars. That just means that there's another single game slate to smash. Exactly.
Yep, for sure. Non-viable carpet said he won't be playing for the Texans. I don't think he'll be playing anywhere. A-Rock said, "Good morning, y'all. Happy Friday. Happy Friday. How you doing?" All right, let's move on. We have some MLB to talk about because MLB was just as crazy as NFL last night. You had the Cardinals winning their 12th straight game. You have the Chicago White Sox clinching the Central, and then we also have some news from the MLB that they're going a little bit back on their word. But let's talk about the Cardinals first. 12 straight win. You were talking to me before we got on the show how the Brewers hit a grand slam in the first inning, and somehow the Cardinals pushed through. I mean, this team is just red hot right now.
They are, and obviously, I think that I don't know if the Brewers took one game from them. I think they actually got swept at home, which is always fun the last week heading into the playoffs. So the Cardinals are picking up steam now, and I don't think Josh anybody's going to be able to stop them. They're 4 games up on the Phillies, which would be the next closest team. And yeah, it kind of seems like they're running away from it. They are the hottest team in the league by the biggest.
Proverbial mile.
Yeah. I'm not gonna say it, but the biggest mile. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, it's absolutely insane to see the lead that they have. I mean, 12 straight wins. The Yankees were able to pull off 13 this year. It's an insane run. So good for all the Cardinals fans out there. And yeah, I think they have a lock on this wild card. It's kind of sad to see that they have a lock here because, like, we were so excited to see the AL play out for their wild card series, and we were like, oh, the NL's going to be just as good. I don't think that's necessarily the case anymore. Cardinals are 4.5 games ahead of Philly, 5.5 games ahead of Cincy, and 6 games ahead of the Padres. Oh, poor Padres. Whatever are we going to do? All right, let's talk about the White Sox. They were able to clinch the AL Central, and I find it interesting that they clinched the AL Central while the Yankees are third in their division, and they would be tied with the Yankees if the standings were all put together. So, White Sox able to win the weakest division in all of baseball, in my opinion. Any surprises here?
No surprises at all. They obviously were the best team in the division, and we actually, they came in with the best odds to win their division too. But I'm excited to see that this team is back up and somebody is taking over the AL or the AL Central rather than the Indians.
Time to ship Toronto to the AL Central. Give us Minnesota or something in the AL East. Let's make that division competitive again. How about that? Here's a fun fact. They have one winning team in the AL Central, and there's not a single other division in baseball that doesn't have 2 or more. And I think 4 out of the 5 divisions have 3 or more winning teams. So, yeah, pretty pitiful to see what we're getting from that division and the competition that we're getting from that division because it's not looking good. Will Harps is already saying be careful with his Twins moving over to the AL East. Hey, I'll take your Twins over the Toronto Blue Jays any day of the week. Let's talk about the wild card in the AL East, not the AL East, in the AL in general, because I finally get to talk about this wild card race with my Yankees in the 2-hole. Boston is the leading team for this AL wild card race. Yankees are the number 2 team. Toronto 1 game back, Seattle 2 games back, and Oakland 4 games back. It's a 5-man race. Jared, I know we've had this conversation probably a million times. We'll probably have it a million more times over the next week. Who do you think comes out on top?
For me, it all kind of depends on what the Blue Jays do. They're kind of the balls in their court right now, and man, they looked bad last night. They're slipping a lot right now, and yeah, I guess the biggest thing for me is the fact that you guys your Yankees have to take on the Red Sox later this week, actually starting today.
Today.
That's your biggest series of the season.
Yeah.
So if you can beat them 2 out of 3 games, you have the Orioles and the Nationals to end this, or the Red Sox. Sorry, that was almost a mistake. The Red Sox have the Orioles and the Nationals, so that is not great for you. But if the Yankees can take 2 out of 3, that could in turn shift the tide for the Yankees moving out towards the rest of the season.
Honestly, I like every matchup that we have this weekend. So first matchup, I'm looking at it now. It's Garrett Cole versus Nathan Eovaldi. I would want no one else starting against Nathan because Eovaldi is a Yankee killer. And then tomorrow we have, where is this? Oh, Cortez versus Pavetta. I'll take that all day. I think Cortez probably wins that matchup. And then last on Sunday night baseball, we have Jordan Montgomery versus Eduardo Rodriguez. I'll take that
Oh,
matchup
that's
too.
nice.
So three really good matchups for this Yankees team when it comes to playing in Fenway. I'm excited, man. Like you said, biggest by far the biggest matchup we've had all season long. If we don't take two or three, we're going to end up losing. Go Friars says Yankees getting swept. Cece's dad saying Jays and Yankees series also coming up. Yeah, that's going to be a good series too. Desert Zombie
Yep.
said Stanton needs to smack more 118.5 miles per hour home runs. Yeah, that home run. Did you see that home run? That like line drive home run that he had?
Yep, I did.
Insane. It was a really nice home run. Uh, Go Fryer says the Orioles have been trolling all week. You hate to see it. Indians would have a winning record with a healthy Beaver. Yeah, it is what it is, man.
Good point.
They would probably. You're probably 100% right, but it's important to stay healthy. Yeah, they I can't believe the Orioles actually won against the Rangers. What an ugly game. What an ugly series to have at the end of the year. All right. Let's talk about the MLB because we got news yesterday that the MLB said that they are going to take baseballs that are in AAA and use them and make them pre-tacked. So what that means is they're going to use a certain substance to make it better for the pitchers. This is only going to be used in some AAA games just because it's hard to come across these. It's hard to make these balls that are pre-tacked, but they're using it as a testing situation to see if they can use it at the MLB level. Jared, I can't help but laugh and think like isn't the MLB just like walking themselves back right now? Like, let's back it up really quickly. We know we said that we don't want anyone to use substances, but now we're going to pre-tack the baseballs. What do you think here? It just feels like Manfred at it again, right?
It seems like a pretty bold strategy.
Yeah.
uh, I have a feeling that they're going to be eating those words when everybody's able to strike everybody out. I,
Yeah.
I feel like that's going to be, I don't know. People want to see home runs, they want to see exciting games, and the pitcher will always have the advantage in some sort of fashion. So giving them even more of an advantage just tells me like what's the difference between that and giving AAA players steroids before the game, like in
Or it's like
specific settings.
it's the equivalent of like saying like, all right, batters, here's a metal bat, go for it. Like that's what the equivalent is to me. Is like you're giving pitchers the equivalent of a metal bat. So just so everyone knows, because I'm sure it's confusing, what do they mean by pre-tacked? They don't give any like exact substance that they'll use with the baseballs, but they already put the baseballs in mud before the game. That way, so the pitchers can get that grip a little bit more. But now instead of mud, they're using a substance. And I don't know, I like they don't clarify what the substance is. They don't say, but like it's going to be interesting to see how it works in AAA. I wish they would clarify what games it was. That way so us the viewers could look and see like, hey, what's going to happen in these games. But it's going to be interesting. Desert Zombie said they need more dingers in AAA. Who will be left watching? I completely agree. It feels like Manfred's out of touch and doesn't realize that like the reason that you're not able to get like the youth into baseball is because you want these pitchers duels, and these pitchers duels just aren't any fun. Everyone makes fun of Manfred. I love it when I bring up Manfred because the chat just goes crazy. It's similar to when I bring up Jason Garrett. Manfred is a clueless idiot, says QDZ. Titty Two Stack says that's interesting. A Rock says yeah for sure. Econic says it's going to be a mess. It certainly will. Desert Zombie says the umpires will take turns spitting on it pre-game. That would be fun. Kyberry said, "Oh, so we just got to move away from the choral talk." LOL. Hey, we'll get to college football a little bit later. It's coming up shortly. Um, but yeah, he said hate Jason Garrett. It's just always fun when I bring up Jason Garrett. Um, it's just gonna be really fun to watch to see what happens here, and if they bring it to the MLB next year, I just think it's a huge misstep.
We'll see how that plays out. We'll be able to tell immediately because usually we see a lot of home runs fly early in the year. So
Yeah.
we'll see how it goes. Have they started to disclose ball changes year over year in terms of seams yet? That is a question that I actually do not know. Josh, any interest in that in the seams conversation?
I don't know if they talk about the seams. I know they talk about the change in the baseball that they make every once in a while. I don't think it's year after year. So, um, yeah, I don't know. Go Fryer says, outside of Adam Silver, does anyone really like any of the commissioners? I know people will disagree with me here. I really don't mind Roger Goodell. I don't think he's as bad as everyone makes him out to be. But I think Manfred is an absolute clueless idiot. I think, and Adam Silver's absolutely amazing. So for me, it's just Manfred that I hate. I want to hear your thoughts. Do you hate all the commissioners, Jared, or just Manfred?
I don't know. I think you can make a pretty solid case that the NHL commissioner actually is worse than Manfred, especially what he's pulled off the last couple of years. I know that's not something that we normally highlight, but yeah, Gary Bettman is, for those of you who are hockey fans out there, can probably agree to the sentiment that he's possibly the worst out of the four major sports in terms of commissioner.
Yeah, see, that's a you thing. I don't pay enough attention to hockey to know that. So good on you for knowing. QDZ said Goodell a dimwit, Manfred is brain dead. I come close to agreeing with you, man. Silver was in Stern's shadow for a while, and Stern wasn't very good either. So I don't know. It is what it is. Anyway, anything else on the MLB level that you want to talk about? If not, we have my favorite sport coming up next.
No, we're going to be probably breaking down these futures bets for the MLB playoff race next week, early in the week. So just keep an eye out for that. We'll give you guys about a week or so in advance to get those futures bets in.
Yep, it's gonna be a lot of fun. All right, let's talk about some UFC because we have UFC 266 ahead of us, and of course we get to start out with the little video, and it's a short one. It's only a 7-second clip, but here you go.
I didn't know about you popping. Actually, don't sit well with me. You don't deserve to be here. Mate, you're a fucking drug cheat. That's it. Done.
So for those who didn't hear what Volk didn't know about you popping. You're a drug cheat. You don't deserve to be here. So Ortega pops for drugs. We know it, or at least Volk knows it. Who knows what's gonna happen? I don't know if it was this fight. I don't know if it was earlier fight, but if that's the case, I don't know. It's gonna be at least interesting. It's nice to see a little bit of bad blood, right? Because with a lot of these UFC fighters, sometimes we see them all hugs and all smiles, but I think these pay-per-view fights, we've seen a little bit more bad blood, and we've certainly seen that with Volk and Ortega between this and between Ultimate Fighter. They've talked about how much they get on each other's nerves. It's going to be a really, really good pay-per-view that I'm excited for. I know you're not very versed in UFC, but I want to at least get your opinions on Volk and Ortega. Do you have a preference here? Do you like one guy over the other? What are you thinking?
I don't really have a preference necessarily. We'll see come tomorrow whether I'll probably just back whatever you're backing and just
There
go
you
with
go.
that. That's kind
Yeah.
of how I roll with UFC for the most part.
Hey.
Outside of Diaz, I'm a Diaz guy because they
Yeah.
are from Milwaukee. So
There you go.
um, yeah, outside it's a great card. It's probably arguably a top five, if not a top three, right? Like you can make a case for even a top one if you had to go that far. A lot of title fights, multiple title fights in this one. So yeah, I'm very, very excited to see what's going to happen. And obviously, whether it be for show or not, I think it's real. So I don't think that I think this one's much more real than the boxing mishap earlier in the week. So give me this one as the more real narrative.
Yeah, it's certainly a real narrative. It makes me slightly lean a little bit more towards Volk's way, but I don't know. I've underestimated Ortega before when he fought against the Korean Zombie. I thought, all right, Ortega's done here. Ortega's lunch money is gonna get taken, and then we saw Ortega's an actual boxer. So it's gonna be fun. I get to watch back those fights today. Actually, I've already watched them once, but time to go back and watch them again. But it's gonna be fun. This card is gonna be amazing. Like just to name some of the fights outside of the three that you're seeing here, because Volkan Ortega, Shevchenko and Murray, and Diaz and Lawler too, all fantastic fights, absolutely incredible. But then we also get Curtis Blades versus Jairzinho Rosenstrike, heavyweight
Mhm.
battle that's gonna be absolutely crazy. Jessica Andrade versus Cynthia Calvillo, again another crazy fight. I love to watch Jessica Andrade. Marlon Moraes versus Merab Dvalishvili. Woo! Yes, sir. Give it to me. Bantamweight fight. Going to be a lot of fun. Dan Hooker versus Nasrat Hakparast. I love watching Dan Hooker fight. Dan Hooker's a beast, and it's going to be fun to watch him fight again. Shamil Abdulrakhimov versus Chris Dulcus. That's going to be a good one. Another heavyweight banger. Roxanne Modafferi versus Talia Santos. Good women's fight. Uras Medic versus Jalen Turner. Jalen Turner's an animal in the octagon. Maximov, Matthew Semmelsberger. Matthew the Jedi Semmelsberger is a beast. I love him. Just a lot of great fights, man. I'm so excited for this card tomorrow. It might be one of the few cards where I actually buy the pay-per-view, because typically I don't. But this one, it's juiced. It's a lot of fun up and down the card.
Yeah, so a funny comment that came in from RAP about some of this news early in the week in press conferences. Did you hear what Brian Ortega said he was doing during the week of the Max Holloway fight?
No, I didn't. What do you say?
He said he was partying the entire week and he was considering going to the club this week too, but his girlfriend advised him to knock that shit off.
All right, Ortega. All right, man. That's super. That's definitely interesting. I'm excited. Like, it's someone in the chat, JQ, said, "I'm glad the featherweight division isn't in limbo anymore." I completely agree, because let me pull this up really quickly. I don't know it off the top of my head. Probably a bad UFC pro for not knowing this off the top of my head, but I want to see the standings in the featherweight division, because if you look at these standings and look at who is like just waiting to hear a decision on what's going to happen here. One, you have Holloway, who we've come to terms with is probably the best boxer in the UFC. So Max Holloway in waiting. Yair Rodriguez, we need to see what's going to happen with him. Calvin Kattar, another guy who's really been doing things in the division outside of that Max Holloway fight. Arnold Allen, another really good fighter. Josh Emmett, another great fighter. Giga Chikadze making his way up the ranks. So we need to see him fight soon. Movsar Evloev in the 13 spot. I love Movsar Evloev. He has great sambo wrestling. And then Bryce Mitchell, too, who we haven't seen in a while, but Bryce Mitchell is a submission specialist. And I don't know if you know who Bryce Mitchell is, but he's like this redneck guy who just loves jujitsu, and it's absolutely awesome. He has such a great personality. The featherweight division is stacked, just like every other division outside of light heavyweight. And we need to get a decision here. We've been waiting on a decision for this title fight since, man, I don't know when they first. I don't even know when they first scheduled it, but I think it was like in like April or something that they tried to schedule this one. It just wasn't able to get done because Volk got COVID. So now we're getting it in September, and it's about time that we see who is the guy here. I want to see it in the chat. This is going to be one of the qualifiers to see who wins free lunch on me. Say who you think wins the Volkanovski and Ortega fight. I already see some people saying who's going to win. Jay Cruz said Volkanovski wins, Holloway wins, fights next, Ortega wins, Volk gets rematch, and I think we get Holloway and Giga fight. Holloway and Giga fight would be a blast. That would be a lot of fun. Black Eddie said 170 is stacked also. Yeah, 170 is also stacked with Usman, Colby, Gilbert. But at least, like, here's the thing. 170 is stacked, but Kamaru Usman is an animal, and he will be the head of that division for quite some time. I don't see him getting dethroned. Like, I look through the standing. Maybe Leon Edwards gives him a problem, but I don't think so at the end of the day. I just don't see anyone here that gives Kamaru Usman a problem. Anyway, we're getting off topic. Anything else that you want to talk about for UFC 266?
No, other than that, obviously you're providing for it, which is awesome. We have a lot of, it's going split kind of, I see a lot of Ortegas, a lot of Ortegas in there, but a lot of people standing up for Volk as well. So the chat seems actually pretty even, although I do think it's a slight towards Ortega.
Yeah, I find it. I feel like a lot of people don't like Volk, and I was that way for quite a bit. And then I just realized, like, I don't like Ortega more. I think T City is kind of a dickhead. So, it is what it is. I think this fight's going to be absolutely amazing. I think the whole card's going to be amazing. And it's in Vegas in front of a crowd. You can't ask for much more after that.
There
Getting
you go.
a crowd in is going to be a lot of fun. Black Eddie said, I don't see Usman losing. I agree. And just a lot of people talking about Volk and Ortega. All right. Anything else for UFC 266? If not, good to talk about some college football.
No, I think that's this is obviously a very, very solid fight card, and I can't wait to see what you do with it on the DFS side.
I am excited as well. Make sure to go sign up if you aren't signed up already. All right, let's talk about some college football. We have Notre Dame in a ranked game. We have Texas A&M in a ranked game against Arkansas. I'm excited to watch this Texas A&M game. It's like 6 versus 17 or something along those lines. Excited to see what Texas A&M can do. What are you most excited for this college football slate this weekend?
Yeah, I'm very excited this week because I get to see a matchup between Notre Dame and Wisconsin early on in the
Yeah.
day. Actually, the first game, one of the first games on the board today, tomorrow. That'll be really fun to watch. Obviously, Wisconsin is not living up to the hype this year. Notre Dame is, so it'll be a clash. And I think that these guys have only faced off like 4 times in the history of both of these schools. So for me, it's pretty sweet.
Yeah.
But other than that, there's definitely a lot of really interesting games. That Texas A&M Arkansas game, obviously. Really interested to see how Clemson's going to look. They're playing on the road at NC State, and then some of these matchups later at night are really really good too. So not necessarily as good as last weekend, but there will definitely be some exciting matchups to look for.
Definitely not as good as last weekend, but that Clemson game is going to be a lot of fun. I know I've been to a ton of NC State games, so I absolutely love their stadium, and I know they're going to bring the heat when it comes to having that crowd out there. Sorry, Texas A&M is the 7th ranked team, and Arkansas is 16th. I'm excited for that matchup. I'm excited to see which one of these undefeated teams comes out on top. And then you have a lot of good games at the end. You have UCLA versus Stanford. UCLA coming off of that loss to Fresno State. Bodine always talking about Fresno State, so I'm glad he gave me an update here. Fresno State playing an 0-3 UNLV team tonight on CBS Sports Network. If anyone wants to see a blowout tonight, yeah, I haven't got a chance to research college football, but there's a good chance I end up providing for today's slate. So for all my college football members, keep an eye out for that. I'll make some announcement in the chat if I do. My East Carolina team gets Charleston Southern, so hoping for a win there, Jared. I know it's not necessarily Wisconsin and Notre Dame, but any win is a good win for my Pirates.
Yeah, what's your record to start off the year? Are
One
you
and
looking for
two,
your first
baby.
place? Okay,
Nope,
okay, all
we
right.
got one. We're cooking with gas right now. We're coming off a big win, so a really good to see what's gonna happen. Fresno State, number 22. Yeah, they are ranked right now. D Ramified says Clemson wins. I agree with you, but to what regard? Is it going to be 14-0? Because if it's 14-0, then you probably see them fall down the ranks even more than they already
Yep.
have. Anything else with college football that you want to touch on? And then if not, we get to get the flag on the play.
No, nothing more to touch on here.
Let's do it. Let's talk about some flags on the play. In this segment, we talk about some things that surprised us about last night's slate. I am no help here on Fridays because I don't pay attention to last night's slate. So it's all you, Jared. What surprised you last night? Was it a good player doing bad? Was it a chalky player basically busting? Like what happened last night?
Yeah, last night was very simple. First, we wanted to stay away from the game in Philly with the rain. Aaron Nola was chalk on the heaviest rain game of the slate. He
Really?
also gave up 5 runs in 2 innings against the Pirates. So
Oof.
things started out really, really well for us. And then the two teams that we decided to stack and were in the best spots last night completely imploded. The Texas Rangers got shut out by the Orioles and Lowther. Lowther at one point, Josh, was the highest scoring FanDuel point pitcher for the longest time. And he actually might have finished in the top 2. But anyway, that was a disaster. And then the Blue Jays doing nothing in the game against Michael Pineda was also very frustrating. So, yeah, didn't work out last night. We're going to bounce back today, though.
For sure. Definitely going to bounce back. Rain not coming when you expect it to is absolutely awful. And you know it's a funky slate when you have a Baltimore Orioles starting pitcher as a top guy when it comes to pitchers on the slate. So here a lot of people say it was gross, it was terrible. You know, time to move on. We're on a Friday slate that's big, and it's going to be a good one. Will Harp says go Twins. I guess I'm a Twins fan if they're facing off against the Blue Jays this weekend. Big Twins fan. So Will Harps, for once, I agree with you. Let's go Twins. NFL slate. Anything surprise you? I know you talked a little bit to me about Robbie Anderson before we got on the show. What do you want to talk about him now? Do you want to talk about anyone else? Give your thoughts.
Yeah, I mean, it just seems like for the Robbie Anderson play last night, it was more about what he's done versus DJ Moore this season. Now a lot of it like gets thrown out the window to a certain extent with Christian McCaffrey not on this team for the next 3 weeks. DJ Moore was coming in with the team's lowest ADOT, means average depth of target, and he was around the 9.4 range, which for me tells me that he's going to be that guy that Sam Darnold looks to in his first read, whether that be a button hook for a first down or that kind of thing. He did have a couple deep balls, which was impressive last night for DJ, but he had the better matchup. Houston's defense and secondary was terrible. They also lost their top cornerback before the game last night. But yeah, Robbie Anderson hasn't really got on the same page as Sam Darnold yet. I know they had that touchdown in week 1, but for me, I'm staying far away until I know that he actually can trust and throw him the ball, because he only had 1 catch last night, and I know that the targets for Robbie were exactly the opposite of what they were last season at this time. So whatever's going on there, whether it's a chemistry issue, whether it's just a system change, will be something that we monitor as we also include that McCaffrey's not on the team. So that means there's probably 25-30% of Sam Darnold's market share going around to the rest of the team.
Going to be interesting to watch, see who that goes to. Econics with the big time dub saying Niners beat Packers by 10. We got to get a little side bet going at some point this weekend for our game here, because I didn't wear the hat for no reason. I knew this was the last stream for the people before we had that matchup, and that's going to be a blast, man. I feel like I get excited for every Niners versus Packers matchup, mostly because we've won a lot of them recently, but it's going to be a good time.
Fair enough. Touche. The one that we did win was a game that any team in the league should have won on that primetime game with CJ Beathard. So it is what it is there. But yeah, it's going to be an interesting game. Like I said yesterday, the Packers do not play well in 2 states. That is Florida and California. So they don't play well in either of those. We could see that same thing play out here. But it will be a closer game than most probably will expect it to be.
Yeah, it is going to be a lot of fun. Anyway, we're getting off topic. Let's move on to talk about our sponsors over at betonline.ag. Sorry guys, I am on the UFC page because I just couldn't help myself. I had to check where the line movement was, but let's talk about some BetOnline bets that we like. Let's start off with our underdog mentality play from the MLB today. Jared, give me your favorite underdog on the slate.
Yeah, favorite underdog here. We're getting to the point in the season where this is not really a thing anymore, just because either teams are mailing it in or teams are heavy postseason matchups.
Do we really not have that many games today?
No, we do. I'm seeing actually that Shane Bieber's coming back today.
Oh, juicy.
So that's interesting. I'm not going to bet that one because he goes up against the White Sox, but let's see. You know what? I'm going to... I don't like anything right now. Give me out. Yeah, I got one. This isn't pretty, but the Brewers are 3-7 in their last 10 games. They have Eric Lauer on the mound, who is hit or miss, one of the most boom bust guys in the league. And they're going up against the New York Mets and Tyler Meagle. So give me Meagle plus 125.
You got a good pick. You got a really good pick there. Give me the Twins. I know I feel a little bit homer saying this, but I'm a big Twins fan. But there is reason behind this. Bailey Ober has been an interesting pitcher so far this season, but Bailey Ober is bad against lefties. This Blue Jays team has a ton of righties. It's going to be a good game for Ober, or a good enough game where the Twins can get a win here. So give me the Minnesota Twins. I like the pick as an underdog. Plus 130 is a definitely good odds to get. All right, favorite bet, and then I'm going to go over some UFC bets that I'm going to give away for free.
Favorite bet is the Dodgers bullpen game, minus 1.5. You get minus 142 odds on that.
I like it. I can certainly get behind it. Give me the trying to find. Give me the Yankees minus 116. Again, another homer bet a little bit, but I do think with their backs against the wall, they've been proven that they can get the job done, and I think they do it again today against the Red Sox. All right, talk about some UFC very quickly. Some bets that I personally like from this UFC slate are, pulling it up right now, I like I like Volk minus 175. I think that could get the job done. I think under 4.5 is certainly in play for that fight as well. I like Merab Dvalishvili by decision. Of course, they don't have the prop here, but when they do get this prop, you guys should bet Merab Dvalishvili by decision because it's probably going to be pretty good odds. Probably going to be closer to plus 100. And Semmelsberger by TKO. Again, don't have the props quite yet. BetOnline's going to probably provide them soon, but when they do provide them, I will be betting on Semmelsberger by TKO because that guy has power. He's a beast. All right, that's it. I think we're all done here, which is kind of crazy. Just another shout out to our friends over at BetOnline.ag. Like we said, this weekend is crazy when it comes to all the amazing sports that we have. We have UFC pay-per-view, we have college football, we have NFL. It's going to be an absolutely insane weekend, and you can have fun this weekend by taking advantage and betting on BetOnline.ag on every single one of these events, whether it be betting on just the sports book and betting these odds before these fights or games start, or be betting live on some of these fights or games, because you can do that over on betonline.ag. You can also use their player props if you want to do that. You can use that for NFL and bet on those player props where you can make your own. So it's a good time over at betonline.ag. I know I'm probably going to be spending a lot of time on that webpage this weekend getting in all my bets.
Yeah, for those of you who haven't followed along necessarily for the NFL schedule and what teams would mean a lot to us, we had this week we have every single primetime game adding up to some sort of matchup in staff. So last night was Sean's Texans, and then this Sunday night is Josh versus my team in Packers versus Niners, and then on Monday night we actually have the battle of the APs. So it's going to be Kai's
Oh,
Eagles against Bodian's Cowboys. So that's going to
let's
be how this
go.
weekend plays out. And yeah, we have some interesting things planned for those matchups.
What a crazy. Oh, the weekend got even better now. I mean, I didn't think it could get any better, but it certainly has. A Rock said, I'm a Rams fan, and I shouldn't have read this. I anchored myself here. I'm a Rams fan, and I actually genuinely have no faith in the 49ers whatsoever. They are a fluke team right now. That cannot be farther from the truth, A-Rocks. But hey, it is what it is. We're going to have a difference in opinion. JQ said, I'm still sad the Fiorio fight got canceled, but at least it's only rescheduled a month from now. Fiorio is a beast. I am so excited to see her fight next time out. JQ said me and Bodine versus Kai. Going to be a good time for sure with that Monday Night Football game. Huge MLB slate. Yeah, I'm just looking to see if there's anything else. Do you know what I'm saying? Which teams to stay away from as far as pinch hitters? Because they are in the fire front at the moment. I'm not. You need to clarify that question.
He means yeah, he means like what teams have those pinch hitters that like need to be scared of for when we're playing these teams that are in postseason hunt.
Oh,
So he means like I don't know, the Dodgers are a team that can do that. The Giants are a team that can do that. The AL East isn't necessarily a team that's going to go out of their way to pinch hit in certain spots because they have, I don't know. You just got to find the teams that have the guys that are that they have like exchanging. Like the Giants are a very good example of this, and I'm like going over my words here, but the infielders for the Giants circle quite a bit in rotations, and sort of the outfielders. So trying to find those teams and staying away from them might be a good thing. But again, in DFS, we can probably just cover that for you on the podcast.
for sure. All right. I'm going to pick the 3 people who are going to win a free lunch on me. Like I said, it had to be people who commented on the Ortega and Volk situation. So we are going to give it to Black Eddie, Will Harps, and Boucher28. So make sure to send me a DM either on Twitter or on Discord, and I will take care of you. I'll send you $10 over PayPal that way, so you can get a free lunch on me. Not a very expensive lunch, I guess, but hey, $10 is $10 to go towards your lunch today. Jared, anything else before we get out of here? This is the last stream before next Monday for the morning after show, and maybe I know I teased it last week and I was wrong, so I feel hesitant to say it this week, but possibly having a revamped look next week is something that I'm excited for.
Yeah, I'm excited for it as well. We do have one more FanDuel voucher to give away for this stream. We've given a lot away over the last couple of weeks. So again,
Yep.
this one is for the MLB slate that drops this afternoon, and that voucher is going to go to Kai Berry for his Monday night potential loss.
I absolutely love it. Congratulations, Kai. Congratulations to the people who won the free lunch. And hope you all have a good Friday. Enjoy your Friday. It's Friday. It's the best day of the week, at least for you guys. I know not for me. Friday just means preparing for more work over the weekend. Regardless, my name is Joshua Reimer. Good morning and good skill.